those applicants. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the City of Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board. Today is January 7th, 2021. And present at today's meeting are, Kate, could you go through the roll call?
We have Don Radke, Lisa Tonzi, Tom Cantwell, Cynthia Carter, Bob Haley, and Jeff Romano is here, and Dan Leary.
Okay, thank you very much. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes as were sent out?
So moved.
Sure.
Second?
I'll second.
Second, thank you. Changes, modifications? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes as submitted?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Old business. There is no old business today, correct, Kate? Moving on to new business. Certificate of Appropriateness, C8-17-13. This is a modification of 711 Fayette Street. Is anybody here for that?
Yep. And Beth, do you want to, or you want me to put it up?
I think I can share my screen.
Hey, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I am Beth Crawford. I'm with Crawford & Stearns Architects and Preservation Planners. We are the consultant on the project to the People's Community Development Corporation, which is a not-for-profit group that owns the building. The board, the LPB, actually reviewed this project a few years ago. We've made a few revisions and recently went out to rebid in December and are trying to work out an agreement with the low bidder to meet budget for the owner. So let's see. I'm going to share my screen. So the application is basically a revision to the previous application and just highlights a couple of the revisions. Will you see your screen?
Yeah, I was going to say we can't see it yet.
I know. It says, I'm trying to read this. Will you allow WebEx to see your screen? And it's not giving me an allow. Hold on. It says it's connecting to share content. Kate, do you have the drawings there that you can pull up?
I do.
Okay. I'm gonna X that out.
Okay, I'll share my screen then. Hold on. Can anyone see that?
So Kate, if you want to scroll down just to A600, which is the front elevation.
600, there we go.
Yeah. So this is the front elevation of the building. This is a Charles Colton 1910 structure. And one of the things that we did was make a modification to the roofing on the east side of the tower. So we're looking at an area at the intersection of the tower and the roof. There's a number 29 right there. And then Kate, if you were to scroll to A602.
A602, there we go.
There's a section on the left side of the drawing that shows the modification on the east side of the tower, which is somewhat obscured by the front gable. This is a problem at the building with severe water damage. Basically, the roof slopes down into the tower. It's just a really terrible original design. So our proposed change on this is to shorten the masonry openings for the tower louvers and get all the water to basically run north and then back down around the side of the tower and off the side of the building. Right now there's a tree growing out of the area on the east side of the tower, and there's severe water damage in the tower due to this kind of just bad design. So the first modification that is a change from the previous drawings that LPB proposed is shortening the masonry openings and creating this new kind of valley at this location with appropriate flashing at the roof there and at the east side of the tower. And then the other modification is on A700, Kate.
Okay.
So if you look at the far right side of the drawing, you'll see a pretty standard half-round gutter shown. The historic, and then if you look at the middle detail of the 2A700, that shows the approximate historic condition with a metal crown molding on the building. The metal crown molding on the east and west side is pretty deteriorated. It exists fairly intact on the north gable. The original proposal was to do half-round gutters on the building like this. They're fairly large, 6-inch. So this is the middle detail. 2A700 is what the board approved previously. I wanted a solution that would be stronger and a better solution for the church. I really felt that with the slope of the roof that this half-round gutter and snow and ice in Syracuse was not a good solution for long-term maintenance here. And so proposed this rather large K gutter. It's a 6-inch K gutter. The crown molding on the K gutter actually emulates the metal of the crown molding on the 1910 building. We have submitted this to the State Historic Preservation Office for review because this is a EPF project grant. They also have some other state money in the project, and all the work that I am proposing to LPB has been approved by the SHPO. And I think those are the two main changes. I will note, however, that the bids came in higher than the owner's budget. We are currently working with, I guess I can say, Richard Gardner to come up with a budget that meets the owner's needs. We're working with Gene Egenhofer at State Parks to figure out both the MWBE and the meeting budget. So the work that is in these drawings, not all of it may be accomplished this year, but is the owner's intent that it will be accomplished. They are looking at other grant applications. There's a grant application due next Friday for some National Trust money that they may be eligible for through some civil rights funding that the trust has available. So
Okay.
I think that's all for me.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any question or comment? Any board members?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth. This is a great project. I'm glad you're continuing on. I hope the budgets can be resolved. A small suggestion on my part regarding the tower flashing that is new that you described first.
Yep.
And that might be, could the flat fascia of the triangle wedge be moved back to the inside edge of the masonry wall, still sitting on that, but move it back 6 inches or 7 inches, sorry, so that it's not right on the face of the front roof.
Right. We do have it slightly recessed, and the intent was that would actually be a dark finish so that it kind of disappears. And I will take it into consideration. I think that is definitely a field condition once we can get up there. We were up there in a bucket about 2 years ago.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I would just suggest that it would be as least detrimental as possible if you moved it all the way to the inside edge, even the flashing not coming farther forward on the face of the brick, unless the field condition required differently. Move it back as far as you can on that masonry wall would be helpful.
Yeah, I see
Thank you.
what you're saying. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
And once we get everything
Thanks.
up there and removed, we can make some determinations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bob, can I just clarify? I'm still on the screen here. Are you talking about here, if you can see my cursor, are you talking about moving this back, or is it the?
I don't see your cursor, but it's regarding.
Oh.
It's on the 6A602 detail 2, and the blow up detail is.
It's for A701 is the blow up.
4701. And all I'm suggesting is that detail, I can't find it right now, but yeah, it's on, as you said, 701-4, lower left-hand corner of sheet A701, lower corner. There you go. If you could move the front face that is right near the drip edge on the front face of that wall, move it back or to the right as far as possible and still be on top of the masonry wall for closure.
Yeah.
That would take it out of the plane of the fundamental edge of the front trim. And
Right.
I understand, Beth, you understand it fully. Thank you.
And if we can just, Kate, go back to A600 again, where we started. You can actually see approximately on note 29 next to the tower, this
Right.
strange triangle shaped.
Yep.
And so it's perhaps smaller than we all think it is. So, but definitely need to look at that when we can get up there.
Okay, that's great. If there's no other comments, I'd like a motion to approve.
Well, just one quick question, if I could. I wonder, tell us about the lintels, how you handle that, since they're a substantial part of the renovation. What are you doing there? Are you on the window lintels? Are they all new as I read, or didn't I read
No,
that?
they're not all new. So this is a product called Onondaga litholite, and the board
yeah.
have come across this before. This
Right.
is a very early kind of precast material that was actually made in the Syracuse area.
Right.
I have another project deck. It was actually used same year as this building, which is really funny. But it's a and the intention is to do replication precast. We have actually considered a couple of different products, but you can get precast made to look just like the Onondaga litholite. The problem here is that it has a lot of horizontal splits in it and fissures that so the product just didn't hold up well, and without maintenance, it failed.
So on the windows, such as on the east elevation, your number 1 notes are replacing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got brick shoring and then a new lintel, and that blends in flush with the face pretty much as the original condition?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So what may actually happen, and I'm happy, I mean, I'm not happy about it, but I'm happy to tell the board. The mason, who's a well-known Syracuse mason, has proposed some modification to their scope to reduce work on the building. And what would probably happen is we would do kind of where we have emergency repairs on the 2 sides. So where things are failing, and there's one area that's particularly bad on the west side in the alleyway, on the east side in the alleyway, and then another particular area by the tower. Those would probably be the emergency repairs that would be done on the sides to stabilize the building. And then at this point, we may focus as much as our efforts on the front of the building as kind of a demonstration project. So we really want to get the roof on, get the flashing done, and then do the front facade. So that, and then probably also do the stained glass on the south side, which the Durs are on the team, which is great. And so we would stabilize the building, get the roof on, get the masonry stabilized, and do the south facade and the tower until we can get some more funding.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you for the expertise of your team. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I will. Yep. What do we need here, Kate? Just an advancement, a review of the project
Yeah,
as
Need a
reviewed.
motion to
It's a
accept
certificate of
the
appropriateness,
application.
Accept the application.
Okay.
It's a certificate, so we need a motion.
Bob, are you going to make the motion? Or?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm breaking up on the signal. Make the motion to accept the application as submitted and presented.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Thanks, Jeff.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks, Beth. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you all. Miss you.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Bye.
Okay, moving on to zoning referrals. Sign waiver, AS-20-08, 484 South Salina Street. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Official from Allied Sign Company.
Okay. Just for the board's edification, our jurisdiction here is to comment. So the floor is yours.
So what we're, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, do you want me to share the screen, or are you going to, shall I share? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll start with the slide. Here we go.
I would ask everybody that if you're going to be rustling papers and turning them over, please mute yourself until you need to say something, because it's distracting.
All right, Greg. I've started with a site plan. If you want to go to a different one, let me know.
Okay. So if we go to the diagram of the sign, what they're proposing is two signs here that are 15 foot tall by 16 foot wide. This would be a flat aluminum face where the letters are routed and backed with acrylic. It would be internally LED illuminated. This would be pretty about a half-inch standoff where it would be halo lit. So it's not a glare lighting in your face. It's very subtle. The letters and these circles would light up and it would have a halo effect. These would be at each entrance on the map. I believe they're the entrance to the building. It's to the right of each one. I know it's kind of a modern looking building. They wanted to keep the key because it is in a historic district. These are pretty simple signs, black and white, very low illumination.
Okay. Are there two signs or three? I'm a little confused looking at the.
There's
site
just
plan.
two signs.
Okay.
One is on the
In that
south
corner
side.
of South Salina Street and West Onondaga, it looked like
Yes.
there was one right there.
There's
So if you see the circles on the map here, that's where the two signs would be.
do you see Don on the site plan?
Yeah.
They're in red. Yeah. So they're tucked pretty close to the building. Looks like they're pretty. Is that correct? How close are they to the?
They would be on the wall, but set off maybe a half inch to an inch to allow for the.
Okay. So these are actually applied to the building. These are not standing. These are not what do you call them?
Yard signs.
No, these
Yeah,
are not
yeah.
freestanding.
They're not ground signs. They're wall signs. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any draw? Oh, thank you. I just wanted to see what it was going to look like on the building. Okay.
So they would
Okay,
sit on the
again, our-
ground, but they'd probably be attached to the wall of the building.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Again, our jurisdiction is to comment. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have some.
Ed?
Thank you. Are there any other signs anticipated for the facade of this building?
I don't believe so that I know of for this building.
I can. Hey, this is Martin Jacob. Sorry, I'm not on video. I'm the ownership of the building. Good to see many of you. There will not be, Bob, I just wanted to clarify 100%, there will not be any additional signage on the facade of the building.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you,
that.
Martin.
Thank you, Martin, and your team. I appreciate that because commercial buildings, as you know, with tenants, multiple tenants, that's what we're worried about here, the chaos that happens. And we are trying to promote for the future, which it looks like you're handling, a policy for new projects that deals with the primary building signage naming, as well as commercial signage, all part of the original design guidelines, so that it helps us approve individual applications. Thank you. But back to the original application. These are large and they are graphic elements of the building. And I think in general, they're appropriate. My concern primarily was not so much with the sign that faces the parking lot to the west, but the sign that faces Salina Street. It is, yes, it is part of the building design in the sense of its modern approach. It more or less has been included in the building. I'm still concerned about the sign, the size of that. I'm wondering, have you ever considered making the one on Salina Street smaller? And I don't see the elevation of the Salina Street one, do I?
Yeah, it's right there.
In the application, that's the one on.
That's the one on Clinton Street.
That's the one on Clinton Street. I don't think we have an image of the elevation on Salina Street. I presume it's similar, almost identical, but we don't see it in the application. Yes, what I'm trying to find is what's behind the sign, to the right-hand side of the sign on Salina Street. Metal wall, or is the glass start at the entrance doors there?
Nope. So it's a flat wall. It's using the same panels that go around any part of the first floor that's not glass. It's a Decton material. It's
Okay.
roughly a black dark gray shade.
Right.
So it's really the only location on Salina Street where you could even put a sign, because the entire rest of the first floor is glass.
All right. Thank you. That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Kate, could you review what the sign requirement is and what the
Mhm.
extent of the variance is being requested?
Yeah.
The whoops. Okay, so my understand. Whoops, here we go. I'm gonna flip this. Whoops, because I believe this has the issue here is that it is it's not the number, it's the size. It's the size of the sign. So
Right.
and well, yeah, I think that yeah. So that is why they need the requirement, because because of the size, not because of the number of the signs that are being proposed. Yeah. So I'm that's all I can tell you.
Okay. Yeah, I believe the actual sign requirement that is allowed, this is larger, but not by a large amount.
Yeah.
You know what, and I haven't seen the calculations for that. I don't know if Greg can speak to that in terms of what the how much over these signs are over the limit.
I believe they're on the South Clinton side, it was the South Salina side, as they only have, I believe, 126 or 152 linear feet. Each sign is 255 square feet.
Okay.
So you're
Yeah.
talking very minimal. Over asking for the variance for size-wise of what they're allowed.
Right.
So,
On this discussion, I'd like to add these thoughts to the application. One is to document exactly how many square feet are in these two signs. And secondly, in other words, you just said roughly, what did you say, 25 square feet or something?
no, on the South Salina Street side, they have I believe 203.5 feet of linear.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, the 152 linear feet.
All right, what I'm getting at is it would be good for an application such to identify the square feet of sign that's being requested and the square footage of signage that's allowable by the ordinance. So we knew the degree
Okay.
of the change in our granting of the variance. Our recommend.
Yeah, that would be something that I should be able to provide you. So
I was going to
so
say
that I
that'll be
can do
something
that in
we'll
the
look at in the future. But for this application, are there any comments, pro or con, from
Well,
any
I'm not
board members?
done. I'm not quite done. Sorry, if I may finish. Very simply, the second part of, and these are our recommendations. I used the wrong term by approval. The second point I would make is that our comment would say that these two large signs would negate the addition of further signs on the facade for commercial use. That would be our recommendations, I believe. I mean, that's what I'm suggesting to our board.
Yep.
I have a comment, if I could.
Sure, go ahead, Lisa.
I just happened to go, we were out for a ride the other night, and drove down by, and I hadn't seen it, since it looks almost finished. I was a little overwhelmed at how big it is and how close to the sidewalks it is to the street. It's very bright, a lot of lights. And I'm just wondering, from a purely aesthetic standpoint, from a street view, I'm not sure what the necessity is for this size of a sign that's lighted. It's just purely an opinion. I'd like to see actually a photograph and a set of drawings of what these are actually going to look like, because that South Salina Street entrance to that building is very close to the street. And I'm just wondering if it's going to look like, it's going to look just too big and too in your face. That's just my opinion. So that corner, it looks like a beacon of lights right now. So
Greg, is that something you could provide?
Yes, we did have them. They had some other renderings with wasn't happening. So I'll get those revised and get those sent in. I just want to say that these signs are pretty simple. In the street, black and white. The black's going to blend in with the facade of the building, and just the letters are light up, and it's very. It's almost like turning on your cell phone and trying to use that for a flashlight. This is a typical sign you might see in Fayetteville or Casanova area, where they illumination. I mean, it's not blaring in your face. Downtown Buffalo.
Okay, if you could get us some more information and a rendering of that, especially the Salina side, I think that would be helpful for the board, and then we can move forward.
And I do, Don, if I may, want to just add, just to speak to Lisa's comment, that our building is pushed back off the sidewalk an additional 10 feet, and then this sign actually sits under an overhang even further back from that. So I do just want to clarify that this sign is not right at the sidewalk of Salina Street, but rather sits at that point, it's sitting about 20 feet back from the sidewalk.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, good. We'll
Just
wait for
one
that
quick
additional
question,
material,
Don.
and then we'll act on it right
Don,
away.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Just a quick question. I'm not clear how far above grade the signs are going to be mounted. What's the distance from the bottom of the sign to grade?
From the grade to the top of the sign is 15 foot. This is going to sit on the ground, but be attached to the building.
So the bottom of the sign is at grade.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, good. Get us that additional information and then we'll move forward on it.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right. Okay, thank you very, very much. Okay, moving on. Project site review, PR-17-22M1, 751 North Salina Street. Is that applicant here?
Yes, I am. Michael Garrity, the architect.
Yeah.
Jim
Floor is yours. Again, for the board, our jurisdiction here is to comment.
What we've done is this building is under construction and it's nearing completion from a previous permit application issued about 2 years ago. But at this time, what we would like to do is for the front second floor apartment house up there, so that that residential tenant has a occupied roof deck at the rear of the building. You're looking at the elevation drawings now. The front facade, I have a diagram of the street here with the 100-foot right-of-way on North Salina Street. And I believe that the penthouse will not really be visible from any pedestrians on the street from the opposite side. We're proposing to do an aluminum fence as the guardrail around the occupied roof deck areas, which you can see on the top left elevation and the top right elevation, which is the rear of the building. We have a 2-story or a 2-level exterior porch structure from the original building permit, and that's been completed. It's a galvanized steel structure because we, by building code, couldn't do it in wood because of its adjacency to the property lines. So we're hoping to get our certificate of occupancy at the end of February so that the base building structure is completed and approved. James Chattel, the owner, has end of February deadline with the land bank to complete the project, which he purchased the building from the land bank. So after all that is achieved and spring comes along where we can actually work outside up on the roof, we would like to make the modifications to the building to give that residential tenant a roof deck.
Okay. What is the height of, I can't read it here. What's the height of the proposed penthouse on top of the existing building?
Okay.
I see a number here, but
Yeah,
it's too small.
looking on sheet 10.4, let me pull at the front of the building, the front of the penthouse above the roof.
1.4.
Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong scale.
The drawing indicates 4 feet above the top of the cornice line from the front of the building.
Okay.
Is that what you were asking, Don?
Yep.
And 7/8 inches from the front of the building as well.
Yep.
I'd like to compliment your architect on showing the diagram of the setbacks, the A3 detail dealing with the view lines. That's very appropriate and shows us that you're on the right, absolute right attack and approach for the location of the penthouse. Thank you for that diagram.
Thank you, Bob.
Any other comments?
I'd like to say it's a nice set of drawings. It's very simple, very clean, very legible, and I have no issue with moving forward with this.
So,
Quick question, what is the color of the aluminum fence?
Black.
Thank you.
Don, can I say something just
Sure.
quickly?
Please.
Is this the building that was actually had the emergency demo issued on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I just want to really commend your the owner.
I agree.
James's work on this. Obviously, your work, Michael, with James. This is a wonderful rescue. And in fact, there's been some amazing work on this block. Recent article in the paper about another one of the buildings, and after the fire, just seeing this work continuing is really heartening. So
Absolutely.
thank you for the work that you're doing.
So my
Done.
sense from the board is that our comment is in the affirmative and positive towards this zoning referral.
I would agree. I would just suggest also, Kate, you add the last comment you made about the fact that this effort was made and saved the building from being demolished. That should be added here, just as you added it to our comments. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
The only comment, am I being audio? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the only comment I want to make is that I appreciate the work that the Preservation Board has done, and I definitely appreciate their comments and input on trying to preserve and even restore this building in terms of its original look and in the historic sensitivity that you can help me provide.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So, thank you. Okay, great. Okay, the last thing on today's agenda is discussion of the new renderings on the Temple Concord project, the Temple project. Kate, could you put those up? And while Kate is working on getting those up, I just want to, for the board's edification again, this is not a formal C of A application. This is just the latest renderings provided by the department for us to view. What we want to accomplish on this right now is to just give overall comments on the revision that will be going to both the developer and the BZA. And I do want to let the board know that we did have a second discussion, a small group. I tried to get some different people involved and from the board. And in that discussion, one of the comments that was, or one of the questions that was answered is with this revised rendering, it is still going to require from the BZA the variances. That has not changed. So with that, I'd entertain any comment on these revisions.
Yes, thank you. Shall I start it, Don? Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. The revisions that they showed were significant, and I only saw these, I think, as this packet came in. It showed response to our comments that have been throughout the entire, which is the scale of the project. These last diagrams are effective from 2 points of view, and I appreciate the design team's efforts here in terms of looking again at this context, historic context of the temple and historic elements of the temple design as informing their new addition. This lowering of the project's height, significant approach. Again, it's a hard decision to make for a developer. appropriate historic scale. Secondly, and added the roof lines for the top floor behind the temple mimic setbacks of the temple design itself. That's a very positive point of view. I would like to say also that the rendering, although blocked out as a light gray volume, really shows how the temple sits in this corner presentation of the new building and how much the new building's design should enhance the temple and be informed by the temple in terms of color. Lightness is appropriate. You can see how significantly different the project is rendered in this conceptual diagram to show the temple as the significant form giver in color and in scale, and that this is definitely the right direction for the architectural team in terms of historic context, which is our primary view. We're not trying to design the project. We are trying, in fact, to use the historical guidelines to inform the new project's goals for the success of the project. Thank you.
Any other board members?
I'm not clear because of the timing on this thing, and I did sit in on the task force meeting, but I'm curious, is this submittal, which we really not much chance to review properly, is that intended to also address the SHPO letter? SHPO letter? November
The SHPO
20th?
letter,
I, the developer, but we had talked about that. And this is what we got back. Mark, are you there? Do you want to address that?
John Harding. Don, this is James Trasher. I'll have John Harding from Cube 3, and we have Mike O'Shea from QPK on as well. So, John, if you want to jump in.
Sure. So I don't recall exactly what the SHPO letter is, but I know that we responded to a lot of the different feedback that we've gotten in this current design proposal. Responds to comments that we heard informally and formally, and it reduces the building by a floor as noted and steps back the top floor of residential units by approximately 10 feet from the main building face. We're going below grade with a level of parking, so there's only going to be, and this diagram was done very quickly, so it's not completely accurate, but we're actually reducing the amount of parking visible on the street side by up to only one floor on Madison Street instead of two floors. And you can see that through the floor plans that were submitted as well. So reduction in density and height and scale. And we feel like it's an appropriate response to the comments that we received and the proportions of the temple. I feel like it's made a more prominent feature of the corner, as Bob said.
John, I think what Dan was referring to is the SHPO letter spoke about looking at the temple from the south, and their suggestion or their comment was to bring back that western elevation in some fashion. I think that's what you're referring to, Dan?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So we didn't move the majority of the building back, but we had moved the kind of box at the bottom that's with that framed element. We had moved that back to create a better visibility or a visual line as you're coming south on the along the University Ave. But we have not moved the leg back at all.
I'm not sure that addresses the concern about the southern direction. Thank you.
I agree, Lisa. And just so the board's all up to date on this, the SHPO letter is second page of the top paragraph. We recommend pulling the proposed building back at least 7 bays in order to maintain the building's setting, feeling, and historic character, which are all highly significant character-defining features of the community-centered building. I don't think that's been even thought about.
I just, this is Aaron staying from the developer side. It's not that we didn't think about it. I think from our perspective, we obviously received a lot of different feedback, and I think we had to ultimately choose something that we could do, but we just couldn't afford to do everything. I mean, these changes that you see here today this is a multi-million-dollar add to the project just to do what you see here, and I think just doing this coupled with a change on that leg was just a bridge too far. And I hope you guys very much appreciate the effort we put in here. This is a for us to get to work. So, yeah.
Well, we certainly do appreciate the efforts. That goes without being said. We still have our Secretary of Interior standards and SHPO comments to react to. So that's what we're doing. And again, I want to remind the board that this is not a formal application. And the ZBA has requested that we give some response to the revisions.
I think this is a great step forward in the design process. Grading out the building makes it recede against the temple, and I think the temple really pops. And looking at it from this perspective that is currently on the screen, if you're actually on the ground, you're much lower, your perspective is much lower, and the new building would seem a lot lower to the temple building. And I think that would read, for me, that reads a lot better with these proposed changes, in lieu of not the of ignoring the comment about the southern elevation. But I feel it's on the right direction. It's in the right path. Thank you. Nice work.
Thank you.
Any other board comment?
I have a comment.
Sure, Cynthia.
Don, I'm just concerned when I'm looking at this new drawing. It appears that the temple is now abutting the building without any recess between the back of the building and the new building, which had been taken care of in the last drawings we saw. So that
I believe that's still there. Could you clarify that?
Yes, that's still there.
Yeah. Okay, that was my concern. Thank you.
So if I'm reading the board correctly, our comment will be that this is going in the right direction, that this is the response of lowering the building and pulling back the upper floor are both positive steps. We're not going to get into specific colors, that kind of thing, because this is not an application. There still is a comment from the board, from one of the board members, that the southern leg was not pulled back as was not required, but commented on by SHPO, and that is still out there.
Don, could I just make a clarification on the southern leg extents real quick?
Sure.
I just want to point out that we're not asking for relief on that front yard setback, so that we are within the setback requirements, and we're also not any closer than the existing buildings to our south. So pulling that leg back 7 bays, it doesn't open up really too many additional views, because there's already buildings that are existing there today that are blocking those views as you come down University. It would only affect maybe the 100 feet or so as you get past the intersection directly south of us, opening up that view a little bit closer. And I think we were trying to accomplish that through adding glass in this piece. But losing, as Aaron said, losing that additional density, it may make the project infeasible. We've already been able to cut quite a bit out of the project to make this happen. And so I'm just not sure that there's a lot more to give here. So we were trying to accomplish that through some architectural expression, staying consistent with other abutting neighbors, and opening up some more glass to really promote that view. So just hoping you guys will consider that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It should be clear that we think this is a tremendous response to our concerns at this discussion stage level of review. And that's what it is. It's discussion. It's not a formal application to us yet. And we think it's moving in the right direction. We hear you responding and working hard to address many of the issues, if not, certainly not all the issues, but many of the issues of the overall scale and impact of this project. So we thank you for your efforts there.
I would like to say that I think that there is long been a tug between the board and developers, not only in this project, but especially in this project, where the developers are mostly concerned with the new construction, whereas the board is really concerned with what it does to the historic structure. And I would like to simply underline that I think we should continue to at least include a comment about the leg of the project that I think it comes close to Madison. Isn't that Madison, the street that the
University?
No, it's University.
University.
Oh, University. Okay. Yeah. That part of the project that pushes so close, I mean, at least in our eyes, that would tend to block the temple from a certain approach. But I'm very happy that the board has been consistent about the massing of the project, both the amount of ground that the new construction covers and the height, and that we have tried to express our concerns in a fairly polite way.
Yeah, I would also add that what we have discussed all along is the conflict from the board's perspective between the impact on the surrounding historical assets, Madison Court and the apartment to the west, versus saving the temple. And one has been, I think I can speak for the board, I think the board has said this multiple times, is that the efforts regarding the temple itself, we're pleased with, we're happy with, and I think we have all accomplished our task. As we've said all along, the massing and size of this is still big, yet it has been reduced and it has been responded to the best of the developer's ability. And I think our comment, if I'm speaking for the board, would be just that.
No, and Mr. Racky, we appreciate that, and the modifications that we have made have reduced the height, so have reduced our setback variance requirements. So we've accomplished some of those things. We'll be with the Zoning Board of Appeals today to talk about that, and we look forward to coming back. We'll take your comments on the south leg, see what we can continue to do to satisfy the needs and make the project work financially. But we appreciate all the time that you and all the members of the board have given this project in terms of the meetings and the discussions. So it has been helpful.
Well, thank you. Okay. All right. Anything else?
Don, this is Aaron Stang. One question real quick. I know we had discussed this in our small meeting about the possibility of a more favorable letter going to the BCA. Is that something you guys have discussed at all, or where does that stand?
At this point, I don't think it's our jurisdiction necessarily to give a favorable or unfavorable letter, since this is not an application. So an approval or disapproval is not something that I think the LPB would be appropriate for us to do. I think what would be appropriate is pretty much, I think what you're hearing is that we're pleased with the response. We're pleased with the fact that the developer has responded and lowered the building, the setbacks on the roof level. The setback on the university side is at least been reduced. And we will acknowledge that in our comments, and also speak to the fact that there still is a disconnect. I don't know if that's the correct word, between what SHPO said and what this current rendition is. And since this is not a tax credit project, SHPO's comments, like our comments, like the BZA comments, are just that. They're comments. They're not approval or disapproval.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other comments by any other board members?
Yeah. I would like to make a comment from the point of view of someone who's going to be impacted by this.
Yes.
So I'm one of many people who live and are tax-paying homeowners in Madison Court Condominium Association. And I've been listening carefully to the thread that gets lifted and then dropped again and again about the impact of this building on the people who live on Madison Street. And it's unclear to me why we're not treated as part of the public. So we are a long-term stabilizing force in the neighborhood, and we pay taxes. And the discussion always centers on what the temple looks like to people traversing up and down University Ave, but that's not the only part of the public that's going to be affected by this. So all of the concerns about the views being prioritized for people standing at this corner is selectively choosing which part of the public matters. And it's actually choosing the portion of the public that is going to be the least impacted by this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay.
I would just like to add that we appreciate, if I could, that comment from, as just delivered, Ms. Edwards. The landmark is extremely concerned with context, and site context and site impact, significant part, and all of the discussion hinges around that kind of primary resource, which is existing resources, which your building and your project is a significant part. That whole corner is, the whole block is, and probably, if I can simplify it for the sake of the discussion input, is that context is critical. Certainly, you are the public speaking to it. Your concerns as of residents within this, although not by name, has been on our minds from the very beginning, if not before this project was even rendered, because we know the area well, and we're very pleased with the kind of school renovation that has resulted in your project. So site context, yes, it's a very general, large category, which is about the experience of the street, the streetscape, and the details are a huge part of this. At this stage, we're in the very early stages of trying to support this project for the city and the developer as appropriate as it can be for it to be a successful project. We're still in the process of advising for that. And the next step is for the Zoning Board of Appeals. Thank you for your comments.
The only clarification I'd make to your comments is it is not the LPB's position or job to support or reject the project. It's our job to comment.
Right. So we appreciate your input, and the next step is at the Zoning Board of Appeals. And it has not come before us yet as a final application. So thank you for your comments very much.
Okay. Kate, when you put the comments together, could you just forward them to the board just to make sure that, in fact, the comments going back to the BZA and the developer are what we said today? It's always difficult. Okay. Anything else? If not, I'd like to just caution everybody to stay well, stay safe, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Don, could I have 1 minute of just the board's time, just us members for a second?
Sure.
After we adjourn?
Yeah, we'll wait for everybody to go off,
okay.
And then we'll.
If
it's an open public meeting, so Lisa.
Yeah. That's right. It's open public meeting.
Okay. Then I'm not sure. Maybe I'll just send you an email, Don.
Sounds good.
I'll just send you an email. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you,
I
Lisa.
also would like to speak to that. It's disconcerting to me to hear that the board is willing to find a workaway around the public nature of this meeting. I just want to note that as a point of concern.
No,
We're not doing that.
my
We're not
comments.
doing that.
No, my comments have nothing to do with this project. It's just something I needed to ask them as a board. It's nothing to do with this project. So I'm sorry if I misled you.
And
Yeah,
that's
has
not
nothing to do.
fair. That's not a fair comment. We are very, very cautious about the open meetings law.
Okay.
I just I had the opportunity to have everyone together, and I just had a question. It was nothing nefarious. I assure you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. All right, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
Thank you. Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, motion carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Be safe.
Take care.
Yep.